Welcome, guys. It's another season preview for League of Inches, and this time, lucky enough to get Josh from Always Brisbane Broncos Instagram page on board. Obviously, doing the Broncos season preview for 2021, and just a quick one, just about the page, and I'll get him to say a bit more. But a really good Brisbane Broncos fan page. If you haven't already, please go up and give it a like and follow and things like that on Instagram and any other social media pages that he does have, which I'll let him talk a bit more about. But really looking forward to this one. Obviously, a club that has just come off a year that we've never heard of for that club. So going to be interesting. But first of all, Josh, before we dig deeper into your club, a little bit about your page and what made you become a Broncos supporter.
So thanks for having me on, mate. Look, I started the page at the start of last season, thinking we're going to have a good season. But look, the passion for the club come from when I was younger, watching Darren Lockyer through my young days, and I've just been a Broncos fan ever since. You can't, like, last year it was a devastating year, but the content was hard for Broncos last year considering how bad we actually were. It wasn't much to report because there was no love in the club, there was no passion in the club or anything. But we're back this year, hopefully for a better year and better content on the page this year.
Oh, well, great time to start the page.
Oh, mate.
Not the best omen to have, but yeah, as you said, that the club as a whole, it was a bit of a weird season, and even you had things like ex-players coming out bagging the club, which we've never seen in the past for Broncos. So it was just a crazy year. I know a lot of people blame Seibold for it, and it's a fair argument to do that, but I think there's some bigger issues as well in the club, not just to blame a guy that's been there for, what was it, 2 years in the end. But let's try and talk about a positive first of all, and your best signing for your club. There obviously hasn't been too many. So who would you pick out of that bunch?
I mean, the player that I think that's going to play the most would probably be John Asiata. But I think some of the signings we did make, like David Mead and Albert Kelly, still yet to make the top 30 squad because we've only named 27 people in our squad yet. But I think Asiata will definitely be our top signing. Just considering he's going to be playing a lot of footy. I'm pretty sure he's going to be starting off the bench for a while. So hopefully he has a lot of impact off the bench and can really get those offloads off through the middle and give us some second phase plays and bring in experience through the middle of the field that we've lacked in the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I had Asiata as well, just more so because of a different style of play he'll bring to the Broncos. And he was very good for a year or so, a couple of years out at the Cowboys, with how he was an extra sort of playmaker for him, which with the new rules, you want your forwards to be a bit more mobile and have that adaptation to their style of play, which he has. So him linking up with people like Tavita Pangai Jr. Will only be good things for your club this year. So what about a loss for 2020? There's a mountain of names I could probably go through and say, but can you pick one?
I think the obvious one's David Fifita. Look, Dave Fifita he was a breakout last year and the year before for that as well. But there's a few players we did lose along the way, like Matt Gillett we've lost, obviously. He's been a hard loss. But look, at the end of the day, it's obviously Fifita. He was one of our breakout stars, and obviously to go to the Titans just down the road, it hurts even more. But look, you can't fault the bloke. They offered him a lot of money. We couldn't match it. Simple as that. It's a big loss, but I think the addition of Jordan Ricky into that starting squad might replace him quite well.
100% correct. And once again, I've got the same bloke. So we haven't written the same notes here, guys. We haven't talked before this, but I think it's fair to say that he's a massive loss to the club, and it's not often that the Broncos miss out on a kid that they do want to keep. So it was an eye-opener when it did happen. But as you said, there is a guy called Jordan Ricky coming through the ranks, which will be good. I don't know if he's going to be as good. It's hard to put pressure on that sort of kid, but it's fair to say Fifita's probably one of the best young forwards. And I did speak about this the other day in the Titans previews in the game, and it was a massive, massive loss for the club. So obviously, it's not the best year to come back from what you've had. Try and leave 2020 in the past as best as we can, or as much as we can. What about a key reason for success this year? What's something that you can look at and go, you know what, I actually think we've got an all right year heading into 2021.
I think it's based on the experience that Kevy's bringing back to the club and the old boys that he's bringing back to the club as well. So we've got the likes of Petro coming back. We've got Herod Walters coming back. We've had all these other old boys. Gordon Tallis even came back into the club, which was so weird to see. Bringing the culture back into the club that we've missed out on for a long, long time. People might say Seabold got rid of our culture, but I think Wayne Bennett really, really ticked off the culture right before he left when he sacked Kevy, and then half the old boys didn't want to come back because Wayne was dominating the club and didn't want to do much. But I think the culture around the club this year, it's a lot more passionate about the club, and I think they just got to play for each other during the year. But I think with the addition of Asiata and Alex Lentz being fit, and the halves as well, I think the halves have to click this year if we're going to do anything this year. And Kevy's going to hopefully get the best out of Milford again.
Yeah, well, there's recently been a bit in the media about the halves, and I guess we'll probably touch on this a little bit into the chat. But I've actually said the same thing. I said the Walters thing more so because of he's bringing some of the past players in. I think that was missed over the last year, 2 years at the club. I think clubs underestimate the history side of it, and you need to really build that, and that's what your benchmark of your club is. That's what has made your club what it is, and you need to keep those sorts of players around and have the young new players getting taught by the older players who have gone and done it before. And the other thing I did mention was, from a proud club like the Brisbane Broncos, an embarrassment factor has been there, obviously, from last year. And I think if a player at that preseason this year hasn't been driven by what happened last year, they probably shouldn't be playing first grade football, especially at the Brisbane Broncos. And if there's not some kind of embarrassment factor after what happened last year, and probably the way the year before ended when you versed the Eels in that finals game, there should be a couple of really head-scratching players there at the moment.
Yeah, I think the main key for the club is to point out which players put in the effort week in, week out, because last year the main thing that I talked about all year was the effort, and there was lack of effort all over the field. I know Brett Finch had a podcast with Craig Bellamy recently, and Brett Finch and Bellamy said, if you don't achieve your goals, it's because of lack of effort. It's not skill. It's not anything else other than effort. You just have to put the effort in and you'll achieve your goals. So
I think that's 100%. And as you pointed out, that even the club last year when it was happening, they were talking about what the issues were, and everyone knew what the issues were. It was just the fact that there was no action behind it. So we can all sit here and say the actions. We all know it as well. Any fan knows what the reasons were. It's about them being professionals and sorting it out. So hopefully, I think
Kevy's gone into the club with the attitude that he doesn't care about their age anymore. Once you step on that field in a Broncos jersey, you're a professional rugby league player. Your age does not matter. It really does not matter how old you are. You're a professional. You are fit enough. You have to put in the effort to become a professional rugby league player, no matter your age.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess to touch on a negative, obviously there's been a few, but for 2021, what's something you sit back and you go, all right, the biggest concern for this year is what in your mind?
Second half. Second half is my main concern, based off the first trial or the last trial game we had against the Cowboys. 28 unanswered points against Cowboys in the second half. I know people say it's a trial and whatnot, and we took a few players off. But at the end of the day, they conceded 28 unanswered points when they were up 18-6. So at the last year, we were statistically the worst NRL team in history in the second half. So that's my main concern. If they don't get that right, then we're just going to fall apart.
Yeah, I think it's something you touch on, which I believe as well, is that there's so much you can say about just a trial, but the fact of the matter is most clubs filled what was going to be close to their top 17, apart from obviously Manly on the weekend. For whatever reason, they kept players back.
No idea, right?
Things like the Charity Shield and obviously you guys against the Cowboys and things like that, they're actually putting towards what's going to be pretty much their 17 for round one. And there is some stuff to take out of those trials. And as you said, it was an eye-opener for that club to –
it was.
I think last year you had some problems with it as well. So it wasn't the whole fact of the matter that it's just this year it's happened. Last year we were pretty poor in the second halves as well. So hopefully they can
It was
fix
pretty
that up.
identical, man. It was
Yeah,
frustrating to watch too. It was
it
very
was.
frustrating.
I could imagine for you guys. The other thing I mentioned was, and I sort of touched on this in a video earlier I've recorded, but a losing mentality in a team or in a club. It's obviously new now to the Broncos. It's only been a season really where you've had this mentality, but it can become hard to get out of. Now, I'm a Parramatta fan, and we're obviously seen our club do it for a number of years. It can take a lot to get your players and your club out of that mentality. And I know it's only fresh for you guys. I'm hoping for the Broncos' sake, it's not going to be the case, but it can become a really, really hard
Yeah,
thing to get out of, and especially when you've got younger players, just to
yeah.
really get them out from that.
I think that it's to do with their resilience as well towards the players. And playing for the Broncos is more than just putting on a jersey and playing for the Broncos. It's a lot of the media attention that they get with the club as well. We are one of, if not the marquee team in the NRL. We have the biggest fans. We have the most fans. We have the best crowd every weekend. So there's a lot of added pressure that goes on with that. And with the lack of experience we've had last year and the year before that we've had none at the club, I think some of the youth that came through, like Katoni, like Herbie that's coming through now, Xavier Coates, Tommy Did, and all these type of players, the development's gonna go to a standstill at some point during their careers because, well, they had lack of experience. That all the pressure got put on them right when they're meant to be developing through the experienced players that we didn't have at the club. So I think it's going to show their resilience and the effort they're going to put into the club to get us back to where we need to be.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I guess that brings us to the final thought. Obviously, I'll get yours first. And just your final thoughts about the club for 2021 and your finishing position for the Broncos.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a ladder prediction video coming out today, so I haven't actually put us in a place yet. But my thoughts on the club finally for this year, I think we're heading in the right direction, base coaching wise and staff wise. But I think, well, I mean, we're in a lawsuit right now with the Melbourne Storm over some CEO bullshit. But I think the head office does need a little bit of tweaking. But as far as recruitment and team wise, I think we're there. I think we just need a few more experienced heads around the club a bit more as well. Like say for like James Tarmow just going to the title. We need that type of player to come to the club, a true leader of the club to come back into the club. Like I know we've got Lexi there. I think this might be his final season, but I think we definitely have some very nice pieces building in the future. But as for a final standing, I'm gonna say we're gonna finish 10th this year.
All right. Well, I think you mentioned a lot of really interesting and true points about the club, and you've obviously got probably more of an in-depth knowledge of the place than I do. I think for me as a whole, I'm up here now on the Gold Coast around Brizzy and things like that, and it has felt a bit deflated around the place. Obviously, the team's results haven't been what anyone's used to or anyone expected of the place. There's still, I know it's a younger team, but there's still some real quality in that outfit that you just, it's sort of a shock that what has happened. And it's a massive fall from grace. And as you said, the Broncos are leading the front on so many fronts for the NRL that it's so weird that they can be up there for all the money and sponsorships and everything like that, but then all of a sudden they're the opposite for where it counts. So a massive year. It's a massive year for the club to get back in the right direction. I did mention you've got some big competitors coming now. You've got the Titans starting to play well. You've got the Cowboys starting to form a decent looking roster. I still think they're a bit off, but I don't want to say too much about him. I mean, you potentially got a new competitor with the Brisbane market coming in 2023. But I hope for your sake and I hope for the club's sake it is a improved year. I can see you improving. I don't think it's by too much yet. I think there's a really big work frame to happen for the Broncos this year. I've got bottom four. I don't think it's last, though. I think Dragons have got that sewn up, unfortunately. But look, I can see you around that 12th mark for this year. And I really do hope, as I said, the Broncos fans and for yourself and everyone out there, Kevin, can really help the place. I want to ask you one more question while I got you on. And that would be, obviously it's happened, the decision was made, but Were you a Green fan or were you a Walters fan?
I was definitely a Walters fan. I wasn't a fan of Paul Green. I know he's an old Broncos player and whatnot, and he's a Queensland legend and whatnot like that. But what I was seeing at the Cowboys with him at the coaching wise and how structured he was with the club, I just didn't think it would fit the Brisbane system whatsoever. I think we needed the culture, the Broncos culture that Kevy is back in the club that we've lacked for so long.
Yeah, well, thanks for that input. Only reason I asked, I talked to quite a few Broncos fans, and it's been 50-50. I've had a lot of people that have said Green, more so purely for the fact of the experience, and they just thought they needed someone in the place for the next 3-4 years just to really fix it up and sort of do what he did with the Cowboys. I guess obviously there's no Jonathan Thurston at the moment, so that makes that job a hell of a lot harder. And at the start, he had a guy called Matty Bowen as well. So it made it a hell of a lot easier. But, mate, I do appreciate you jumping on, as I said.
No worries.
Really hope Broncos have a great 2021. Not too great for round one, obviously, versus Parramatta Eels. And I hope we can tune in, do some more collabs together over the season and see what happens. All right. So thanks for coming on.
No worries, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.